Hello and welcome everyone. What I'd like to do in this video is to go over parts of your assignment on making a podcast covering a genetic disease or a genetic trait of some sort. On Blackboard you'll find a detailed description of this project, and I'm happy to answer any questions about it, but what I'd like to spend this time doing is to go over how to use the website that will generate the podcast for you. It's pretty straightforward, but the first time you do it, there's lots of little tricks that I'd like to guide you through as you get used to using this program. So what I'd like you to do first is to click on the link found in the project description for NotebookLM.google.com. This is the program we will use. Once you click on that, if you don't have a free Google account, you will need to first generate one. Once you have a Google account, then you'll be able to make an account in NotebookLM, as I've already done here. As you can see here, I've made one here on Huntington's disease already, and we can go ahead and click on it, but we're not going to spend too much time on it. But real quick, what I want to show you is that the end product is going to be a podcast that this program generates for you. And I'm just going to play a little bit of it just to give you an idea, but then I'm going to take a few steps back and explain how you generate it.
Right, let's unpack this. Today we're doing a deep dive into Huntington's disease.
Right, and we've got quite a range of sources to draw from.
Okay, I'm going to stop there, but you can see it's going to use the resources that you provide and make professional sounding podcasts with these two hosts. In order to show you how to end up with that finished product, I'm going to start from scratch and generate a new podcast on global warming. And what I'll do and what you'll do when you make your podcast on your genetic disease is you'll first click on Create New. After you do that, you'll see this page here where you can upload your resources. Now for your project, you're already going to have a series of references that you're going to use in generating your podcast. You can upload PDFs, you can add websites, YouTube videos, you can have a copy text, which I'll show you in a moment. But for now, let's just upload some of the PDFs I've already downloaded on global warming. So I'm going to click Choose File, and here are my samples for global warming, and there's 3 of them here. So I'm going to just click on all 3 of these, click Open, and you can see it is putting these PDFs into my list of sources here on the left side. Now I can still add additional resources, and I'm going to do that here. And I'm going to click on Copy Text. And you're going to do this as well because you're going to generate some summaries, and those summaries you're going to upload in this way. So I'm going to go to the Word document I created here that has some summary information on global warming. And you can see it here. And I'm going to just select all and copy it all. Then I'll go back to my LM page here, and I'm going to click Add, and then I'm going to click on Copied Text, and I'm going to paste what I just copied from my document here, and I'm going to say Insert, and it's going to put my summary here. And when you do this, you're going to have summaries that you're going to add yourselves. If you notice here in the add, there's no way for me to add a Microsoft Word document. You might be able to do it through like a Google Docs, but I haven't explored that yet, but I'm sure that's possible. You'll also notice the maximum resources you can have is 50. I don't think you're going to need 50, but you're going to have at least 5 to 10, I think. Now you also may have noticed that you can add a YouTube video, and so I'm going to do that as well just to show you how that works. And I'm going to copy this link from a YouTube video on global warming. Now some of the YouTube videos won't work, particularly if it's an advertisement or something like that. So you may pick a YouTube video that won't upload properly, and you'll just have to pick a different one. So I'm going to put Add here and click on this link that says YouTube. Even though it's a web link, don't click on website, click on YouTube, and then you just paste your YouTube link here. And it's listed here as one of the references. Now once you have all your references added to it, then we can move over to the right side of the screen and do some other things. One thing you need to do as part of this project is to generate what we call a briefing doc. And so I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And what it's going to do is it's going to take all the information from these sources here and summarize it. What I want you to do as part of your assignment is to click on this summary. Then I want you to copy all this, because again, unfortunately, it doesn't let you download it as a Microsoft Word document. So I'm going to highlight all of this, copy it, and then I'm going to paste this into a Word document. Here's an open Word document. I'm going to paste it in there. And this is that briefing document that we just generated from the NotebookLM website. What I want you to do with this document then is to review it. And at the bottom of this document, I want you to make a new section called My Edits. And anything in this document that you think is too detailed, maybe you want to provide less detail, maybe it's not detailed enough, maybe it's missing something, then you want to add anything that you think should be changed in it down here. Maybe after reviewing this, you realize you should have another source that addresses something else that wasn't addressed in this document. Now I want you to save this as briefing document with your name added to it. So that's what I'll do here. And then what I want you to do next is to generate a PDF of this. And so however you generate a PDF from a Word document, that's what you'll do with a Mac. You can just hit print and then under PDF say save as a PDF. And I'm going to save that into my same folder I had with all the other documents. Then I'll go back to my NotebookLM page here and I'm going to add that source I just made. So I'll click choose file and here's the briefing document with my name on it and I'll upload that. So now that's part of your references as well. Now to get back to the screen we saw that's underneath this, all you have to do is come up here on the right corner and these two arrows pointing to each other to decrease the size of this, or to close it. Click on that, and now we're back to this page. The next thing I need you to do is this. Click Generate, this blue button here. And what this is going to do now is generate that podcast with those two hosts. Once it has finished processing it, it now will show your podcast here. It makes that podcast using all the information you have in your resources over here. There's no way to indicate or to tell the system how long of a podcast it will generate. From my experience, it usually makes podcasts in the range of 10 to 20 minutes. But then what you can do is click play, and it'll play the podcast for you.
Welcome to the deep dive. So today we're really diving deep into global warming. It's a topic that, well, it spans everything from physics to global economics, And we've got quite the stack of sources here. Core science, economic analyses, risk assessments.
Yeah, quite a mix. And our goal really is to guide you through these specific materials. We want to unpack the science, look at observed change.
Okay, I'll go ahead and stop it there because I don't think we want to listen to 19 minutes of that podcast. But this is just a demonstration of how you can quickly generate a podcast on your genetic disease. Now, coming up with all the resources, that will take a little bit of time, and the summaries you need to write from those resources will also take a little bit of time. But once you have that done, making the podcast itself is fairly straightforward, as you can see here. Now, the next thing you need to do is create a link that you can share, and you'll do that by clicking this little share icon here. So I'll go and do that. It'll ask me to make it as public access, and you select that so it's available for others to see. And then you hit copy share link. And then what you'll do is place that in a Blackboard discussion group for the class. And then once it's there, students can click on it and they can watch your podcast that you generated on your genetics disease. And it's the same one that we just listened to. Part of the assignment is to listen to 3 other students' podcasts and to ask one question of each of those podcasts. Now, when your podcast is selected and somebody asks a question of you, you have a couple of options. You may just know the answer to it and you can just provide the answer to it. Or you can go back to what you made here. And this is kind of a cool little feature. So if you click on this here where it says interactive mode beta, then it will allow you to ask a question directly to the 2 podcast hosts and they will answer it for you. Now, the only knowledge they have is based upon what you've inputted into the resources. So they may not be able to answer the question, but they might. So it's kind of a fun little way to interact with the podcast, and they may be able to answer your question. So let's provide an example of how you might do this. When you're in the interactive mode, I'm going to hit play, and you're going to hear the host start talking. And then I'm going to hit this button here called join, and that's going to allow me to interject a question. And then they'll try to answer the question.
Deep into global warming. It's a topic that, well, spans everything from physics to global economics. Oh, our listeners got something to share. Let's hear it.
Is there anything we can do to stop the effects of global warming?
That's a really important question. It's something these sources touch on from different angles.
Absolutely. So can we just flip a switch and make it all go away? Not really, according to what...
Okay, I'll stop it here. But you can see they took the question I asked They went into all the documents I provided and were able to answer that question. Now, it's also possible I could have asked it a question that it didn't know the answer to, and when that happens, the host just acknowledge that it's a good question, but they're not able to answer it. So again, it's a fun tool for you to try if you'd like to ask it some questions. Okay, so that is basically what I wanted to cover in this podcast, just to give you some instructions and a demonstration on how to use NotebookLM in generating a podcast. But as I end this, there's a couple things I wanted to go over with you that are features on this website that you might find helpful in studying for this class or maybe studying for other classes. And so I just want to go over a couple things here, just as, I guess bonus material. But you may have noticed these other buttons over here: a study guide, a frequently asked questions, and a timeline. You already did the briefing doc, but what about these other ones? So if you click on study guide, I'll go ahead and click on all of them so we can look at them all here in a second. Again, they're going to generate a study guide, frequently asked questions, and a timeline based on the resources provided. So here's the timeline. And so it goes through all the resources that I provided and provides a timeline of when different events occurred related, in this case, to the topic of global warming. And so here's a study guide that you could use if you were studying for a test or something like that on this topic. And then the last one here are frequently asked questions it generates based upon the references I provided. Again, this could also prove to be a good way to study for the material, or maybe a good way to generate flashcards or something like that. Now, you could say, even in this class, instead of generating a topic on global warming, you could take all the material, say, from a particular unit and put in the transcripts from the podcast or the study guides that I've provided on Blackboard for each unit, and generate a study guide, frequently asked questions, things like that. And that could be a good way to study. And maybe for this class or maybe for other classes. But I thought it would be worth mentioning because it could prove to be a useful tool as you move forward in this class and other classes. All right, that's all I'm going to say for now. Have a good one, and I'll see you on the next podcast. Bye for now.